welcome to another edition of Brazil Bound, MLSsoccer.com's continued coverage of the U.S. national team ahead of the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. I am your host, Andrew Wiebe. Next to me, Simon Borg. And Simon, today we're talking about difference makers. And there's perhaps no bigger difference maker in U.S. soccer history than Landon Donovan. But over recent weeks, we've had to re-examine his role, and now there are questions. Will he make the 23-man roster? And if he does, in what role will it be? Will he be a true difference maker?
And the reason we have those questions, Andrew, is because of his physical status. We saw in the last game against Mexico, he ends up coming off the bench. We find out later it's because of a knee issue that hampered him in training. And even with the Galaxy, he doesn't look like the usual Donovan. He's still chasing that MLS goal-scoring record. And look, in a recent interview, he said that he has had trouble getting out of bed on some days. So because of those physical issues, I think he has to go into camp in May and prove that he's fit enough to be in Brazil.
Yeah, certainly. That's been the message from Julian Green from the very start of his tenure, Simon. He has not been afraid to go against the grain, to sit Donovan, to exclude him from camps. And if there's any coach that would not take Donovan to his fourth World Cup, I think it's Julian Green. I think that would be a mistake. I think he belongs on the 23-man roster. He can still play a role, whether that's as a starter or off the bench.
I agree, as long as he's fit. But I think the bigger thing here, we're going into a World Cup. So national media, mainstream sports media, mainstream sports fans are going to be expecting Landon Donovan to start in Brazil. And I think Donovan should be treated with respect going into Brazil, in that all that he's given to the U.S. national team, he started at a very young age, and Klinsmann and Donovan have to be on the same page. If his role has in fact changed, they need to start communicating that outwardly to the media, to fans, so the situation is managed and perception is managed going into Brazil, so it's a good experience for everyone.
Yeah, certainly something to watch. Moving on to the next generation of difference makers, Diskerud in his first go-round, his first World Cup cycle with the U.S. national team. Now rumors coming out of a potential move to NYCFC, Simon. Would this be a good move for Diskerud, either before or after the World Cup?
No doubt about it to me, Andrew. Look, Diskerud, if he wants to be a figure, a primary figure in this U.S. national team, being in the U.S. helps. For as well as you play in Norway, that's still the hinterland of soccer. People are not paying attention to you. But it's also a good move for NYCFC because they can appeal to the U.S. national team fan base in New York City by grabbing a guy like Diskerud.
Yeah, at time of taping, no comment from NYCFC, no comment from Diskerud's camp. You'd certainly think that Expansion Club would want to get him before the World Cup, before his price skyrockets, potentially. But Simon, for those who aren't familiar with Diskerud, who is a comparable in MLS?
I would say Diego Valeri of the Portland Timbers, a guy who's technically proficient, pops up in the right places, connects passes, and then when he's close to goal, can even score a goal himself. And I think he would be a great fit under Jason Kreis. We've seen his style with Real Salt Lake, possession-based, attack-minded. I think Diskerud would make a great fit.
Yeah, at this point, Diskerud's spot with Julian Green seems pretty clear-cut. Appeared in many of those World Cup qualifiers, a difference maker in those games. One guy whose spot is not clear-cut is Julian Green. He has been the darling of the U.S. soccer media for the past few months, Simon. Your position is clear. You do not think he should be on that 23-man roster, but play along with me here. I know it's a stretch for you. Okay. If he's there, who does he push off?
Well, he's coming off an injury recently, suffered in that game against Mexico, his first appearance. It's a shoulder injury. It's not the knee, ankle, or a muscle, so I don't think that's going to impact him. But if he has a shot here, he's competing against Brad Davis and Breck Shea as an impact player on that left side coming off the bench. And his primary competition to me is Breck Shea, who's proven he can do that. He'd be that impact guy off the bench, powerful runs, and he's a real threat to tired backline. So can Green match what Shea does? I'm not sure.
Yeah, certainly. Green, a guy who has split a lot of opinions in U.S. soccer. A lot of questions to be answered when the U.S. gathers in mid-May in Stanford, that pre-World Cup camp. Is Landon Donovan still a difference maker for this team? Should Diskerud make that move to MLS? And Julian Green, who would he push off this roster if he does indeed make the 23-man? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. And as always, tune in for another edition of Brazil Bound next week as we build up to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil.